everybody. Welcome to Thursday. I don't know how you have been putting your pieces together today. Look, it's January 2nd. I think we're all trying to figure out what 2025 is going to be like. But I have been watching a lot of news about an attack in New Orleans and an explosion in Vegas. And I keep seeing police saying there's no connection. And then I see a connection. Then I see another connection. And maybe they're just coincidences. Maybe they're connections. I don't know. But there are a lot of similarities between these two attacks that happened on New Year's Day, both of them. And I'm about to lay out a list for you that maybe after watching 12, 15, 28 hours of news, you could put together if you kept a list going. But if you don't see it all in one place, you might not see it. I'm of the conviction that the authorities are actually doing something about this. I really do believe that they see the same things that you and I see, right? And I think they have a lot more access to find stuff that you and I wouldn't be able to. But tonight, just by what we know, this looks real ugly. And I'm starting to see that it looks like it is connected. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's just a coincidence, but damn, it is a major coincidence. Those two men, those two attacks. I'm going to get to all that in a moment, but I'm also going to show you tonight some very jarring video of what happened. Because look, we all hear, oh, there was a terrorist attack, there was a shooting, there was an incident. But unless you live it, you never really know what the terror is really like. And on Bourbon Street at 3:15 in the morning, the terror was ungodly. And when you see video like this, you start to realize just how close people came to dying and what they're processing today when they see those pictures. I'm going to show you this picture. I'm going to show you a couple of other pictures as well tonight. And then I'm going to talk to you about some pictures that we should never have seen and millions of people are seeing. You'll have some exclusive interviews from those who are deeply affected because they have lost the ones they loved and they nearly lost their own lives. Then I have a story for you out of Alabama tonight, which it's a weird one. And actually, it wouldn't even have made the news. Honestly, it's a shock that it did make the news. It started off with a horrible car crash, a family barreling down a highway, 90 miles an hour, dad's behind the wheel, clearly a very dangerous man. He's got his 2-year-old daughter in the back. He's got his mother of the 2-year-old in the passenger seat, mother of 2 kids, and he barrels into a tree at 90 miles an hour. Needless to say, he's dead. Sadly, the 2-year-old is also dead because she wasn't in a seatbelt or in a car seat. Mom miraculously survives. She's taken off to the hospital, and nobody can find the 1-year-old baby boy. Nowhere. It is absolute mystery. Where did the 1-year-old baby boy end up? Well, now it's on the national news because of this little baby boy. And I've got some answers to the mystery that may never have been solved were it not for that 90 mile an hour barreling down a highway with your family in the car unrestrained. All that is coming in just a moment, but I just want to say this. I do not jump on the conspiracy bandwagon very easily, but how many coincidences are too many coincidences? When it comes to the twin tragedies on day 1 of 2025, a mass murder by truck in New Orleans, a truck bomb in Las Vegas. It's just hard to ignore that the 2 perpetrators had a whole lot in common, as did their attacks. So far, the official line is the events are not connected, period. End of story. They are not connected. But if your spidey senses are telling you that it sure doesn't feel that way, my friends, you are not alone. I am with you, and we have other friends too. I want to run down the list of coincidences. Both attacks occurred on New Year's Day, within hours of each other. Both targets were party cities, New Orleans and Las Vegas. Both perpetrators chose trucks as their weapons. More specifically, they both rented electric trucks using a budget car sharing app called Turo. They both drove long distances from their home states to commit their attacks in those party cities. Both vehicles had multiple guns on board, weapons, and explosives inside. And both had a means to detonate their explosives. And both attacks were carried out by decorated U.S. Army veterans. And believe it or not, they both both received the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. Let that sink in. Talk about a slap in the face. Both of these service members shared more in common than that. They had both served at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. They both deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. And they both served at the same military base. Both suspects died during the attacks, something that looked like it had to have been planned. This is a lot of coincidences to take into account. But despite that list, the investigators say it is still too soon to tell if those two attacks are connected or if the suspects even knew each other. And I will give the authorities this. It might just be because the agents today said that they have yet to go through the digital footprint of the guy on the right, the Vegas suspect, to see who he's been talking to before he decided to go ahead and explode a cyber truck at the front door of the Trump Hotel. Here is some of what the Las Vegas sheriff said today at a press conference. Take a look.
There are a number of things in this case that are similar to the attack in New Orleans. We do know that our subject here served in the military. In fact, he's a current member of the military. Both of the subjects served at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. What we do know about that is it's a very large military base, and we have no record that they served in the same unit or even at the same years at Fort Bragg, something that continues to remain under investigation. I also know that they both served in Afghanistan in 2009. We don't have any evidence that they were in the same province in Afghanistan, the same location, or the same unit. Again, something else that remains under investigation. And we also know, of course, that they both used the rental company Turo to rent their vehicles. You'll notice that we're not releasing information that we haven't corroborated and verified. We're very well aware of all of the things that are going around on social media. But that's just the way we're going to conduct this investigation. We're not putting it out until we can tell you for a fact what information it is that we're putting out. And so we're going to continue to do that, but I'm also confident to tell the Las Vegas community and this great nation that we don't believe there's any further threat from this subject or anybody associated to him here in Las Vegas.
The investigators in both cities have been going through a virtual mountain of evidence, including hours upon hours of surveillance video, including this one. I just can't stop looking at this one. Honestly, the woman with the red hair, look closely at her at the front. Watch how close. Look at that. She literally is within an inch. It's just, it is just unbelievable. This is Shamsuddin Jabbar barreling down a street full of people in New Orleans. You can see them diving out of the way within an inch of their lives. That woman, again, with the red hair, she barely, it almost looks as though her heel is going to be clipped by that vehicle. I mean, that is truly an inch of your life. FBI says it has also in its possession a video showing Jabbar placing 2 explosive devices in coolers. You know, those kinds that we all take on picnics? Well, he used them in the French Quarter instead, just before the attack. These are the pictures they released to us today. If I saw that guy, I'd say, hi, Happy New Year. I wouldn't think anything of him. According to the FBI, the timeline looks like this. Between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. local time, Jabbar is caught on tape planting the coolers. Take a look. Right? Isn't that what we take out to picnics? So innocent. Video shows other people actually stopping to look into those coolers. Maybe they opened them, maybe they didn't, but they then continue on their way, which tells us why police thought maybe they were involved. But they weren't. They were just curious and went on their way. 1:29 a.m., Jabbar posts the first of 5 videos to Facebook. And here he explains that he originally planned to harm his family and his friends, but he was concerned that the news headlines wouldn't focus on the war, quote, between believers and disbelievers. So instead, in the video, he also mentions that he joined ISIS before the summer. 3:02 a.m., Jabbar posts his final video, which according to the authorities includes his last will and testament. How nice of him to think about others before he's about to kill so many. And then, of course, at 3:15 a.m., we know what happens. He drives down Canal Street. He cuts onto the sidewalk on Bourbon Street to avoid any kind of barrier, and then he hits the gas, running over dozens of pedestrians before being shot dead by responding officers. At least 14 people were killed, 35 people injured. The count keeps changing. President Biden today said that all evidence points to him, points to Jabbar acting by himself, lone wolf. Here's some of what the president had to say.
Today, the FBI briefed me that as of now, we have no information that anyone else is involved in the attack. They've established that the attacker was the same person who planted the explosives in those ice coolers in 2 nearby locations in the French Quarter just a few hours before he rammed into the crowd with his vehicle. They assessed he had a remote detonator in his vehicle to set off those 2 ice chests. So there's no question that, remember all the talk about other people were involved, placed him, they have established he's there, and even established that he had a detonator to explode those ice chests.
The FBI says they've recovered 3 phones and 2 laptops from Jabbar's Airbnb in New Orleans. You'll remember that Airbnb actually caught fire on the day of the attack, and the authorities are still investigating the cause of that fire. But then there's that other place, his home. Jabbar's home was in Houston, Texas. That's where he drove from. And it is still an active scene. The New York Post has published these exclusive photos from inside Jabbar's bedroom, which shows a bomb-making station. Also shows a Quran. And the Quran is opened to a very specific passage about martyrdom. And in a moment, we're going to take you on a tour inside that hovel of a home. And it is something to behold. Today, the city of New Orleans tried to return to some level of normalcy, if that's even possible after such a horrendous attack. Bourbon Street was able to reopen this afternoon. And the Sugar Bowl, which was originally scheduled to be played last night, instead, it was played today. I want to go right now to NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who is live on Bourbon Street. I can't believe that I can hear music behind you. I can see people, revelers, partiers walking behind you. It just looks like every other day on Bourbon Street, and you're standing in the place where more than a dozen people were killed.
Yeah, it is so eerie, Ashleigh. Something about it just, honestly, like almost doesn't feel right standing here. This is the spot where I'm standing, where the truck drove and where most of the victims died, right in this spot. The bodies were all over the place. And you look out here tonight, I mean, Bourbon Street is pretty slammed tonight. I mean, you've got people all the way in that direction down to Canal Street. You look down here, and there's people pretty much for as far as you can see, and people are just sort of having a good time. Most people don't even really seem like they know exactly what happened in this exact spot where they are now partying, when just yesterday this entire area was closed down. There are a lot of police around. I don't see any walking by right now, but we've seen police. There's military police out here. So the police presence is pretty big. But I want to show you, I mean, there's like little reminders, which is kind of eerie. And most people just walk by. They're not even looking down and noticing this. But, I mean, there's like little memorials like this one where there's candles and some teddy bears and plants. But like I said, I don't even think most of the people out here notice it or maybe even realize that this is the actual spot where the terror attack happened.
Well, I have to be honest, Brian, I've been trying to process what you're going through right now. And part of me wants to think that as Americans, we're just not going to let them win, right? We're just going to go on with life, and you can't change things just because you read some passage in your Bible and you decided you were going to change policy, feelings, emotions, anything with your evil. And so I don't want to think it's crass that people are out partying in the place where only within hours the dead, were being processed. But are you getting a sense of anyone there, or are they almost oblivious?
Look, I mean, they're obviously not oblivious. Most of the people here were at the Sugar Bowl, so they had to stay an extra day. The game was postponed 24 hours, and I think people feel bad, obviously, about what happened. I think what you say is true, though, that, sort of speaks a little bit to the New Orleans spirit, to the American spirit, that you're not going to let a terrorist sort of shut everything down. I mean, I was wondering earlier, is it more disturbing being here now and seeing people party, or would it be more disturbing being here and feeling like the terrorist won and everything shut down? Let me show you I want to show you sort of the police out here. This is Homeland Security here, a big group of Homeland Security officers, and there was military police a little while ago. So I don't know. It's a weird balance. I don't know what the answer is, Ashleigh. I think it's weird that this just happened and the bodies were right here yesterday. But I think it would also feel bad if everything just shut down and the terrorist won.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to hear from our viewers. Go to my social media, go to Brian's social media, jump on some of our posts and just tell us what you think about this. I mean, I see people weighing in both ways. Like, to hell with Shamsuddin, to hell with what he did. This is America, and you can't change us. We're bigger and better and stronger than that. On the other side of the coin, I feel terrible for the victims' family members. I'm not sure how they would process that. We'll ask about it. We've got a couple of people on the show tonight. Can I just ask you real quickly about the Sugar Bowl and the security? Are you seeing, other than the men that just passed by you from Homeland, are you seeing bigger barricades? Are you seeing the sidewalks blocked now? Not just the streets, but the sidewalks, because that's where this killer got his access to Bourbon Street, over the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen more security where the Sugar Bowl was. I mean, they had this massive perimeter. There was SWAT team out there. It was interesting. I mean, I was reading earlier, I think they were down 10,000 tickets. And the ticket prices just dropped. I mean, you get tickets for like $40 or $60, tickets that were $500 at the last minute. So people definitely backed out. I think some people just, their travel plans changed and they, needed to leave. They didn't have a flight, or maybe people were also scared. But there's definitely a bigger security presence out here. The military police are really intense. They haven't walked by since we've been live. I keep looking around for them because, there's like soldiers out here that you see every 5 or 10 minutes in big groups that walk by. So you definitely get a sense that things are secure.
Well, I'm glad you're there to bring us the full story and to help us process, because I think we're all kind of on the fence about how we feel, and whoever isn't, I hope they understand the other side. Brian Enton, thank you for that. I appreciate all the work you've been doing. You must be exhausted.
Thanks, Ashleigh.
So as promised tonight, we have that exclusive new video of Shamsuddin Jabbar's secret bomb-making lair inside his home in Houston. I mean, if you can call it a home, it's a hovel. New York Post reporter Jenny Terre got exclusive access inside his ramshackle trailer, and here is what she saw.
We are here inside the New Orleans terrorist home. You can see that it's been clearly destroyed, the door at least, from the FBI raid yesterday. But if we walk through the home, we see some signs of what he was up to. He had this work area here, lots of different chemicals splayed around, and different electronics. This is, again, a work setup. Left receipts, just very unkempt in here. If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here, the search warrant, and the property that they recorded here, which seems to be a lot of chemicals. Again, just left in disarray. There's a bedroom back here, and what appears to be his collection of religious materials, his Qurans, an open Quran with a passage there, as well as even the Bible here, but mostly books on Islam, and his prayer rug just to the left of me here. And if we go back, there's another bedroom here. You can see he left all these belongings, contact lenses, personal belongings, his bathroom. This seems to be some sort of workspace, again, with other chemicals here. The light's still on, some kind of station set up here. We're not really sure what that was for. In, what we can assume was also a bedroom. You can see clothes left here, and just a sign that someone was here up until those last few moments when neighbors said he left just before the New Year's holiday, saying he was done with his lease. It was up, and he was on his way to New Orleans, where he would live there. Didn't take any furniture because he said his new home would be furnished. That's all we know so far.
Just astounding. Jenny Terre, the New York Post, hats off to you. It's shocking that she could get that access. Shocking to see the electronics that are still in that home. The warrant still sitting there. I guess he just doesn't have close enough family members at this point that we know of anyway, that are there. Who knows if they ever will be. Just a remarkable job by Jenny Terre. We also learned a lot more about the man who blew up the Cybertruck at the Trump Hotel in Vegas yesterday. Police and investigators say he's 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger, if that's how you pronounce it, Livelsberger. He's of Colorado Springs, Colorado. And again, total slap in the face here, but he's a highly decorated United States Army soldier. Green Beret. Green Beret. According to authorities, his body was burned beyond recognition inside that truck, still behind the driver's seat. But a few things did actually show up and seemed to indicate that it was indeed him in that car. Tattoos on his arm and stomach, IDs found in the car, surveillance video showing a man just like him driving that Cybertruck across 4 states to commit that attack. But they are still waiting for the official DNA to confirm it, hands down. Although, honestly, the news conference is, it's him. All but the science. A handgun was found at his feet. It appears that he shot himself in the head right before the car exploded. Took him 17 seconds to drive in there, park it, and shoot himself and blow it up. We're also keeping an eye on another attack, this one last night in New York City. What a couple of days. The police say that 3 to 4 gunmen opened fire on a group of young people, mostly teenagers, who were outside of a nightclub in Queens. At least 10 people were shot, 6 women, 4 men, all of them, thank God, expected to survive. The suspects are said to be in their late teens, maybe early 20s. At the time of the attack, the club was hosting a private event. Are you sitting down? It was a celebration of life for a 16-year-old who had been shot to death. NYPD is investigating if the club shooting is gang-related. No arrests have been made yet, but the authorities say there is no evidence, at least, that it was terrorism. So there's that. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, what happens after the bodies are counted and the sidewalks and the streets are cleaned? What happens to the people who survived Bourbon Street? My next guest was in the path of that speeding truck and leapt out of the way within seconds. The sounds and the sights are something she is never going to forget. Our exclusive interview is next, including something else she says will scar her for life, something that seems to be relatively new. Back in a moment. Her go-to place to ring in the new year, even though it takes her over 2 hours to get there. Paige Bryan always felt it was worth the drive because Bourbon Street in New Orleans is the place for a party, and it is the place for the biggest party of the year, New Year's Eve. So she and her friend got there just after midnight, and all was fine until last call, 3 a.m. That's when they rolled out onto Bourbon Street, and life changed in an instant. Paige saw the white pickup truck barreling towards her and picking up speed, and she had only seconds to leap to safety. And she was one of the lucky ones that could. What Paige saw and heard next, however, will stay with her for life, like a scene out of a movie where time stood still until the sounds of agony began to echo through the street. Paige Bryan is here with me tonight to share what she witnessed in this exclusive interview. Paige, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I am so sorry that you've had to go through what you've been through. Can you take us to those moments where I left off and tell us what you witnessed?
Yes, ma'am. So, like you said, we were done with the last call. We were heading home, heading back to our vehicle. My friend had walked in somewhere. I had walked right past her, not paying attention. And I was just walking in a group of people. I looked up at some point and saw that there was a vehicle coming towards us on Bourbon Street, which is kind of out of the normal, just because they barricade and block off Bourbon, therefore, so that we can all walk on the actual street and have more room. But it was New Year's Eve, so I didn't think really anything of it, just because anything is possible. But anyways, I saw it, figured maybe I should step up on the sidewalk, get out of their way for whatever reason they're coming. Realized that he had front end damage of his vehicle. And just about as soon as I realized that is when he sped up and hit everyone that I was standing with or walking with. He swerved back and forth through the street for what I can only assume to try to hit everyone all at the same time. As soon as he passed by, he sped up even faster to get to the next crowd over, which was about a half a block away from me. And that's when the gunshot started. Right before the gunshot started and right after he had passed us was when everything kind of stood still for a minute. And I realized how fast and how insane things were. I was walking with all these people laughing, and they were all talking about things that had happened between I'm assuming that night, and then next thing I know, all these people are on the ground. I watched all of them get hit, and it was very, very, very traumatic.
Did you get a look at him as he passed by? Could you see his face?
No, ma'am. His windows were blacked out, so you couldn't see anything in the vehicle.
But you saw that he was swerving, and you think he was aiming specifically to hit as many people as he could?
I believe so. I can only speculate at this point. I don't really know what it was, but it seemed as though we were kind of the first group of people that he come in contact with on Bourbon Street. So I can only assume that that's what he was doing. Because he did really hit all the people that I was walking in a crowd with. It was kind of a thin crowd, so there was kind of people a little group here and a little group there. So he was swerving regardless. It didn't seem as if he was swerving before he got to us, but that's just what I noticed and could only assume.
Paige, thank God you're okay. Thank God your friend is okay. Can you tell me what you saw immediately after he passed you and had hit all of those people that you were with? What was the scene like?
It was surreal. It really didn't seem like it was a real thing that had happened. And when I looked around, it seemed as if everybody was dead. Nobody was moving. They were, in the moment, it felt like they were all dead. That it was quiet. I don't feel like anybody really knew what was coming. Nobody really screamed. Nobody. It happened so fast. So it was quiet. People were just. It didn't seem like there was even wind blowing at the time. And then all of a sudden, the gunshots went off and people were screaming and people were coming out of buildings and all kinds of places to help with all the victims that were on the ground at the time.
There is one thing that you noticed, though, that it's sort of a sign of the times right now. And I'm going to read a Twitter post that I saw today. It was the first thing I saw when I asked for the information on the crash on Twitter. And it said, Please stop posting videos and pictures of those injured and deceased from that car crash in New Orleans. It's gruesome and morbid enough as it is without having the visuals right on our phone screens. May God be with those that got hurt and the families of those that didn't survive. You witnessed that firsthand, didn't you?
Yes, I am. There were, they said people weren't really screaming yet when it all happened. So to see all of these people that were able to move around and were able to walk around and walk through all this stuff, I unfortunately was not. I was in complete shock and couldn't move. So to see people that instead of leaning down and helping these people or getting out of the way or getting out of basically the line of fire, they are walking around as if this is not literal dead bodies on the floor. They're videoing it. They are senselessly on live of all these different social medias. These people that are just simply unconscious, they don't even know that they're hurt. They don't even know what just happened to them. So now you're posting and letting all the world see that what's happened to these people. And like I said, they don't even know what happened to them, much less they haven't had a chance to contact their loved ones to let them know that they are alive. Because in the videos that I was watching people do, they do look dead. They every single one of them looked dead. And that was very sickening to see.
I am so sorry, Paige, that you now have this as part of your forever memory. I'm so sorry that there were those that saw it more important to document and post to social media than to help not only the dead, but the survivors like you. I'm hoping the best that we can all learn from this, because I don't think it's going to be the last time we go through it. But God bless you for sharing your story, Paige. I know that you've been through trauma before. You lost your brother. And I know that you feel it's important to share, to get closure for those who are dealing with trauma like this. So I really appreciate you doing this with us tonight. Thank you for this, and God bless you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
That's Paige Bryan, who narrowly escaped losing her life last night as that man in the truck decided to do what he did. Thank God she's with us. Coming up next, it is the call that no one can imagine getting. Your son, your brother, your friend has been killed in a terror attack in one of the most festive places for New Year's Eve. 14 families have been getting that news in the last 48 hours. And Matthew Tenodorio's family was among them. Matthew was only 25, his whole life ahead of him. His mom and his dad just wanted him to text when he got home, but they did not get that text. And they join me live next. There are 14 families who will never again ring in the new year the same way, who will spend all of 2025 struggling to comprehend immeasurable loss, who tonight will start living a new normal. Some of the victims in New Orleans were as young as 18. There was also so many others who we can't yet identify all of them, but so many others whose families are getting the terrible news. You'll notice Matthew Tenodorio, 25 years old. He's there on the top row, right of center. Matthew had had dinner with his parents on New Year's Eve and one of his brothers just outside of New Orleans. They'd shot off some fireworks together before Matthew left with some friends to ring in the new year in the French Quarter. Matthew was on Bourbon Street at 3:15 a.m. when the attacker barreled through the crowd, and then police started shooting. He shot first. Police shot back. They killed the gunman, but Matthew was also shot and killed. I want to bring in Matthew's mom and dad, Kathy and Louis Tenodorio. Kathy and Louis, thank you for doing this tonight, and my heart goes out to you. I am so incredibly sorry that you are going through what you're going through, you and the rest of your family. How and when did you get the news?
Thank you. Well, our son didn't come home, and we just had to discover it on our own. No one called us. We just finally got in touch with the two friends that he was with, and they told us what happened, that they witnessed everything.
That they've been calling him and no response. So we start to think maybe something happened to him.
In the hospital, our hopes were that he was in the hospital. And, we called everywhere, called the police, reported him missing. Then we found out that University Medical Center had, they have their morgue is there, and they said families were going there to see if their loved one was there, and that's what we wound up doing, and that's how we found out that our son was dead.
Did someone help you through this process? I mean, I'm trying to imagine what you went through when you went there. What was that like?
Yes. Well, they were prepared at the hospital for the families, but before that, we just had to figure out step by step, logically, let's call the hospitals, and see if he's a patient in the hospital. You just kind of do a logical thing. And then we found out that, the major hospital here where the morgue is, had this arrangement for all the families to come, and that's where our family members were. So my husband and I, and the other
family. Yeah, no, go ahead. How did you find out that Matthew had been shot? Because most of if not all of the other victims had been hit by the truck.
Well, that's what his friends told us, because the gunmen started shooting, and that's when they all got separated. It was like mass chaos. So also we were told by the coroner's office that our son was shot. I know they're reporting that
we haven't seen his
body. We can't see him yet. So until I do, I won't
That's
know
what we're going by.
Yes.
What we've been told.
And they didn't let you see Matthew when you went to the hospital?
No, because everything was still under investigation by the FBI.
It's an FBI investigation, and they have to do an autopsy on all of the victims.
Check every little thing.
Right.
See if
and then they'll, the cause of death, et cetera. And we had to just show a picture of our son, and then they confirmed, yes, your son is dead. And that's all.
It just feels so incomplete and so unsatisfying. Is anyone in contact with you? Is anyone?
Right.
I mean, God, I can't imagine this.
Yes, we did have the FBI did call us this afternoon because there's an issue. His vehicle is parked in a paid parking lot on Rampart Street in Bienville, and we have to pick up his car. It's already about to be towed, but we talked to the park lot. Anyway, long story longer. We have talked to the FBI. We talked to them this afternoon, and they're trying to, get us more information. There's so much. It's just utter chaos.
It just feels, like what you're describing is utter chaos, and I feel like you need to be treated with kid gloves in this circumstance, and just to be desperate for information and struggling to find it.
The other families too. My heart grieves for everybody. We heard the cries of mothers and fathers and family at University Medical, just hearing the news that their loved one, just like mine. My son was just a wonderful, loving, happy,
always happy,
light up the room guy, and it's just
he had so many friends.
It's tragic, very tragic. We'll never be the same.
And he worked at the Superdome, right? He worked at the Superdome, wasn't it, with you as well?
His dream job, yes. Yes. His dream job, working with, the NFL and the NBA team and our Saints and our Pelicans and concerts. He loved his job. He loved
Kathy and Lewis, I am just so incredibly sorry that you've had to go through this. No one should be going through what you're going through. No one should start with the loss, and then no one should have to struggle through the loss as well just to get answers. Please stay in touch with us and keep us apprised. And whatever help we can offer, please reach out. We'll try what we can as well to get any information for you. And let me just let our viewers know that your family has a GoFundMe set up as well. It's Matthew Tenedorio, New Orleans terror attack victim. That's the GoFundMe for the Tenedorio family. Thank you to the both of you for sharing this.
Thank you.
I so appreciate this.
Sharing.
And like I said, our viewers, and our viewers are looking at the GoFundMe now. And I just want to wish you, our best and tell you our prayers and thoughts are with you. Kathy and Louis Tenedorio talking about their son, Matthew. We're back right after this.
Do we use a primer? For unlimited talk and text with reliable coverage and your second month free, call Consumer Cellular.
When Stephen Collins pinned the gas pedal on December 8th and then drove 90 miles an hour straight into a tree, it might have made news in Alabama, but it wouldn't have made the national news. To be certain, Stephen was killed, but so was his 2-year-old daughter, Riley. Riley's mom was in the car. She was rushed to the hospital, badly hurt. But the youngest member of the family was nowhere to be found. 1-year-old Caleb. He had just seemingly vanished. Police searched everywhere, but there was no sign of him. Not at the crash site, not at the family's home, not even with relatives. And that is when the details started to emerge that little Caleb actually hadn't been seen by anyone since September, months before the crash. And that was just the beginning of a parade of disturbing facts about this family. It turned out that little Caleb's big sister, Riley, wasn't wearing a seatbelt when she was killed in that car, wasn't even in a car seat at 2 years old. Again, dad's driving 90 miles an hour. And that's when mom in the hospital started talking, and police started drawing up criminal charges against her. Court records show that the missing boy, little Caleb, was severely abused before he vanished. He was beaten, even tied up and suspended by a rope in photos. Police say they found text messages making it clear that dad was the abuser, but that the mom, Wendy Pamela Jean Bailey, the one badly hurt in the car crash in the hospital, that she let the abuse happen and did nothing to prevent the eventual death of her baby, Caleb. Wendy Bailey is facing aggravated child abuse, first-degree domestic violence, and abuse of a corpse for Caleb. She's also been charged with criminally negligent homicide for the death of little Riley, the 2-year-old. That's it for us tonight. Stay tuned. Cuomo starts now.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Entin in for Chris Cuomo tonight. Welcome to NewsNation. I am live on Bourbon Street tonight in New Orleans, the scene of yesterday's New Year's Day terror attack. I'll tell you, it's almost surreal out here. It is such a different vibe